Who said you need expensive materials to make art? Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Leima and this is my artistic world. And in today's video, we are going to make art with things we can actually afford. In the last video of building my portfolio, we made murals. Go watch that video. And in that video, we learned that sometimes you do need the right materials for the right job. But sometimes materials for art materials, art supplies, are so expensive that you wonder to yourself what has happened to the world. But the thing is, art has never been about how good of a quality products you have. You could quite literally create art with garbage. So in today's video, we are going to make art with things that we can actually afford, or more like affordable alternatives to some very amazing products that are already out there for art. So we can kind of mimic the looks of those things. So with affordable alternatives, today we are making the second section of traditional art, abstract art. But it's not just any abstract art, it's very texture heavy. I have never made any type of abstract art. Yes, I've made impressionism art or semi-realistic art or things that steer towards abstract, but I have never actually made anything abstract. Something that has meaning but isn't like a full-blown portrait or landscape. It's something that is more constructive. Along with wanting to make abstract art, I also love textured art, so I really wanted to combine those two and create abstract textured art. But knowing that this idea is going to take a lot of texture and a lot of heavy paste, it meant that I couldn't use modeling paste. Modeling paste, if you didn't know, looks like this and is very, very, very expensive. And I do have it and I use it very little and just sometimes. I am very picky, but it's because it's so expensive and I don't want to like waste it. I use it very sparingly. But with this painting, with this collection of 4 pieces, yes, it's gonna be 4 pieces, I wanted it to be very texture heavy. I wanted it to look like you could touch it and you could feel every single texture. So that is why I needed the planning of these pieces to be very, very accurate and very well thought out and very detailed. So I started out just like with any other painting, but a lot more thought out with sketches and brainstorming to see if my idea and the thoughts I had behind it would actually resonate and would look good with these pieces. As I said before, because I needed this to be very texture heavy, I needed to mimic the look of modeling paste. So these are the 3 products that I used for the texture, the texture paste type of look as an affordable alternative to modeling paste. Drydex was very inexpensive. 1 bottle, which is 32 ounces, is like around $8. The silicone is like $10, I think, but we had that laying around at the house, so that was amazing. And we also had the caulk at home as well, so I didn't need to buy that one either. So the only thing I truly needed to buy was the Drydex, but even all together, the caulk, silicone, and the Drydex, it was all under like, yeah, I would say around $25, under $30. And I used all of them completely. Well, just a small bottle of modeling paste costs like $27 and you can't even do much with it. So this was truly very affordable alternative. And then these are some of the tools that I used. Of course, my own hands, because that is the best tool ever. But then also this cake scraper, whatever it's called, and a palette knife. So these materials were perfect for wanting something affordable I could use in large quantities, large amounts, and still not go broke. Now with all 4 of these pieces, I made the base with Drydex. The first 2, I had an old bottle of Drydex, so that's why the color is a bit different, but it is still Drydex. And I layered that on all 4 of them as the base, and once it dried completely, like it wasn't even cold to the touch anymore, I sealed it with gesso. 2 layers in fact, and I would wait in between to make it completely dry so that it didn't chip or it didn't crack or peel. So it took a very long time. I did try to work with 2 at a time, so once I would layer one canvas with everything that I wanted, I would move on to the next one, and then while that one was drying, I would move on to the next one so that they were both at the same time. It wasn't taking as long as it would have if I just worked with one canvas at a time. So that was a very time-saving thing to do. Now for the first 2 pieces, once the gesso dried completely, I mixed the silicone with acrylic paint. I went with green, blue, red, and yeah, I suppose that's the 3 colors I went with. Yes, the primary colors. And I mixed those individually with the silicone, and I had to wait for each layer to dry before I could use the silicone again. I didn't wait for them to completely dry, so that's why in some of the clips you will see that I am messing up some of the previous layers of silicone that I've already put down on the canvas. I chose those colors because I did some research before starting out with this idea, because it wasn't my usual type of painting. With portraits I can add symbolism and do a lot of other things that feel natural, and with landscapes is the same thing. I usually use my imagination or use a reference photo or something like that, or draw from life. But with these, I wanted to portray feelings, so for that I needed to go very deep into research. I chose these colors because these are the 3 primary colors, and if used very sporadically like I am right now, it can feel very much complex, and depending on the placement, either anxious or relieved. It's very, very interesting how much art can reflect one's thoughts and one's mindset and the state of their being. And that is why it is so beautiful that when I finished making these, it was all put together. I saw my thoughts exactly on that canvas. What I wanted to portray was portrayed perfectly and beautifully. With the next 2, I researched the same way. I looked up a lot of things: what colors makes you feel what type of way, what shapes makes you feel what type of way, and what flowers has what meaning behind them. And the process of it kind of went the same way. After the Drydex dried, I gessoed it like twice, let it dry, and then for the first one, I used Kulk completely, but then I ran out of Kulk and I didn't want to buy another one, so I just used silicone and then colored it white, both of them. And then the background of those flowers that I painted white, I wanted them to stay pure and white, and then the background of them, the way that I wanted them to feel, I colored them that way. The first one, I painted this very gloomy, dark, gray and black type of, sorry, it's falling. My camera's falling. Very like gloomy and dark and gray and lifeless So I chose that color to represent that feeling. And I also researched, and it showed that gray and this type of color that I'm showing on the screen, it evokes anxiety, it evokes anxiousness. So that is exactly what I wanted to portray, and that is what I decided on. And for the second one, I wanted this very refreshing, relaxing, free color, and that is why I chose that shade of blue. And I made sure for that painting that all of it, at least as much as I tried, looked exactly the same, uniform. It wasn't splotches or anything, so that it all felt like one cohesive color on that canvas and you could feel relaxed looking at it. For the flowers, this is the name of the flower, I forgot. This is the name of the flower for the first painting for that one. And this is the second one. That's a lotus. Lotus flowers represent peace and relaxation and just calmness. And the first flower, I still can't remember the name, damn it. The first flower that represents anxiety and anxiousness and this uneasy feeling. And I think for all four of these pieces, the process went well. The time was pretty good too. It didn't take that long to create all four of them. It was a bit stressful, but I did it anyways, and they were able to portray exactly what I wanted them to portray. Even though they're part of the collection, the two last pieces, they do feel a bit distant from the other two, but that's kind of what I wanted them to feel like, that they are distant from the other ones, but with each other, they make sense. With the first two, they look like they belong together no matter what. And that leads me to saying that this collection's name is Like Two Sides of a Coin. This collection's name is Like Two Sides of a Coin because all four paintings being a part of this collection, the two pairs are like two sides of a coin, and then with each other, both of them are like two sides of a coin. The first two paintings, these two paintings, this one's called Love and this one's called Hate. I wanted Love, this painting, to feel like the chaos was surrounding you, but it could never consume you. You are whole on your own. And with Love, the chaos could surround you. It could be all around you, but it could never consume you. It could never take away this purity. And with Hate, I wanted this painting to represent that with hate, or hate itself, it consumes you. Hate consumes you. And with hate in your heart, the chaos consumes you. It becomes whole inside you. It takes over you completely. These two pieces represent each other, represent the distance between each other. They are opposites, but still intertwined. One could not be without the other. And with these two, this one is Serenity and this one is Anxiety. With Anxiety, it's quite literally what the name is. It represents what the name is. It evokes anxiety. This is what anxiety to me feels like. It is gloom and doom, but it's also so beautiful to look at, but also so complex. And the second you realize what you're feeling, you have already remembered all the memories, all the times, all the feelings associated with those memories and those times and those moments. And with Serenity, I wanted the viewer, you guys, the audience, to instantly feel relaxed when looking at this. Because it evokes serenity, it evokes calmness. You are like this flower floating on water, calming yourself, feeling relaxed, feeling like the world around you has finally muted itself, and you can finally be in peace. All four of these have a story of themselves, and they tell a story, and they evoke stories from you, and that is exactly what I wanted them to be. Like, for example, for me, the first two paintings, Love and Hate, are polar opposites of each other, but also so interconnected, intertwined, that one could not be without the other. But also on their own, they mean so much. With love, the chaos will never consume you, but with hate, the chaos becomes you. For me, that is quite literally what my entire life has been. I try to love, I try to fall in love with everything, with every feeling, with every memory, with every moment of life. Because I know that if I hate everything, which I have at some point, I did have my depressive moments, but with hate, everything becomes so mushed together, like it could consume you, like the world will eat you whole. And then with the other two, Anxiety and Serenity, that's also very much evokes all those emotions and all those memories for me, because with Anxiety, it feels like it makes me remember my bed-rotting times when I am depressed and anxious and feeling horrible and anxiety is taking over. I am in my bed with the covers over my head, seeing pitch black darkness and nothing else. And I feel so gloomy. But then I do know that there's still light at the end of that tunnel. And with Serenity, that feeling that I said of floating on water, I love swimming. And that is what it does for me. When I swim, when I float on top of the water, I feel relaxed, I feel calm, I feel like all of my feelings, all of my thoughts have gone away. And when I'm under the water, the world is muted. I do not hear anything, I do not see anything, I do not feel anything, and finally feel free. And that is exactly what I wanted Serenity to represent. And the collection as a whole has represented everything that I wanted it to do so. And yeah, that is my collection of abstract textured art, like two sides of a coin. Now, like I said in some of my previous videos, while making this portfolio, I don't know what is gonna end up being or happening to this portfolio, but one thing for sure that I know I want from this portfolio is to be exhibited at a gallery. So I reached out to a couple of galleries around where I live, and also a few that I have followed on social media. And I got ghosted by all of them. Not even a response of no, but oh well. It does hurt quite a bit to work so hard on a collection of artworks and sharing my story with them and sharing the experience behind it and still being ghosted. It's essentially being rejected. Honestly, even if they said no and being rejected would have been way better than just no answer at all, which is so freaking sad. But it's okay. I got over it. I did not cry even once, even though I felt like it quite a few times. But that just means that I just have to keep going and keep persisting and keep reaching out to other galleries, because these ones clearly do not understand the worth of my art. I did not let that experience put me down. I still kept going with my art. I still kept making art, and I will be persistent. I will never ever give up. And this is your sign to make art, to take that risk, to never give up on your passions. Because your worth and your value is not defined by if a gallery chooses to represent you or not. That is just an example, but there are so many other things. Do not let something so minor put you down, and let that represent your worth and your value. You are amazing, and you have to always, always act like it. But other than that, I would still really like to be represented by a gallery. I would still like my art to be exhibited. So please tag your favorite galleries in the comments and let's all collectively make my art be exhibited. Please. Thank you. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video and sticking through to the end. Hit that like button and that subscribe button because there is way more on its way. Have a wonderful, amazing rest of your day and bye!